Greetings and welcome to Project Pandora. I am Darkling and this of course is Ark Survival Evolved. Today we're going to endeavour on some more building, of course. This is a building channel after all. As you can see in the background, Project Pandora is looking pretty fantastic at the moment. I will be extending the platform at the very top with a flyer landing platform. I had planned to try and get that done on the last episode, but time ran a little bit short. I've done some of the internal work yesterday, so that's looking pretty good. I'll need to finish up some of that as well, so I might not get onto the outside flyer platform quite as quickly, but I'll endeavour to get it done as quickly as I can so that these videos don't drag out too much. So stick around and hopefully you'll learn something. Okay, so following up from yesterday's episode, as you can see, well, I say yesterday's, I don't know when I'm actually posting these, so who knows, it could have been the day before. Things are looking pretty snazzy up here now. The next stage is to remove the scaffold. Now, this is actually a very stressful part of any build, is removing any kind of scaffolding that you've got supporting roof structures. The actual problem that you will have won't occur until the very last piece. So I could remove two of these and it won't make a difference. In fact, I could remove one of these tiles here and still have it not make a difference. If it's going to detach, it'll be after you remove the second of the last, because the way snapping works in Ark, you can end up with some floating structures. So if it's going to break, it'll break on this one. And lo and behold, we have our unobstructed storage area. That's fantastic. Okay, so now we have something really to work with. I'm going to just grab some railings and start to trim this up a little bit. I'd like to see it a little bit tidier. Actually, I better make sure I set my alarm. I've just got to load it up on the other screen. Now, I keep starting episodes and forgetting to turn that on, which is a really bad thing to do. Okay, so trim the outside edge. Where on earth did that go? Okay, so we're getting some dual snap point issues here. Never reach that. In which case I'm going to have to work out which one I'm going to go on. I'll be sinking it down on those. Not on these. Or sink it on both. I go down the ramps, it'll be sunk, so I think I might actually sink these ones down. So I'll be snapping to the lower snap point. It won't just be free placing some of it. I'll need to actually take a little bit of time just to make sure I get that lower snap. For those of you that haven't worked with the dual snap points, I do have a tutorial video on how to handle them. It's actually pretty simple. If I'm lucky, I might get away with some pretty easy placements here. It really depends on how fast I go as to whether or not I'm going to cause myself problems. If I just take my time and make sure the snap's in the right place, it should be fairly simple. You do get the occasional jumping around, which we can use the snap to the opposite, but I'm not sure it's actually going to be needed. Oh, that's part of that support. Yeah, I could just picture removing that one and suddenly the whole lot falls. That would be depressing. So it's actually going quite well. I normally have a lot more moving around, so luck is in our favour today, so hopefully we'll get through a bit more of the video. This must be, I'm actually starting to lose count. I've done quite a few now. I think this is episode 12? Might be 13, I'm not 100% sure. If it's episode 13, that's really good. 13's always been my lucky number because, well, let's face it, nobody else wants it. Yeah, that one I actually did have to manually change the snap point on. Now, it's things like this that are just the little trimmings that are gonna change the look of the base quite a bit. As I said in the previous video, I'm not gonna be building this to an extremely high standard. Normally when I do these builds, I build them to a move-in standard, and then once you've got them to that point, you can then you move into your base and then you spend a little while living in it before you actually adjust it again. I won't actually be living in this particular base, so there will be a few things that would eventually get tidied up a little bit more that I won't be doing. See, I've always done that with my builds. You get it to a certain point and then from there you adjust it as needed. So under here I'm going to block off. Quite a lot of the time if I'm doing something like this, I would probably put a door frame in here and then actually use it as a storage. Oh, I just did two really bad snaps there. Let's see if it'll let me pick it up from above. Really hope it does. Try ceiling, try ceiling, try ceiling. Come on. Okay, it's not highlighting that tile, so I'm not going to be able to do that. Piece. I wish there was an undo button. You know, out of all the things that it would be nice to have in Ark, one button to unsnap the last snap that you did. Oh, that's right, there's an overlapping one. One to unsnap that very last thing you placed. Just one. Doesn't have to be all of them, just one single snap. That would be absolutely amazing. In fact, I might actually suggest that into the forums for S+. I'm not sure it's possible for... Oh crap, it snapped down again. Now, hopefully that's not a swear word for where you guys come from. It's not really here. I've done my best not to include anything that sounds like it's swearing. Now, there's a few words in our country that get used quite regularly and most people don't really consider swearing. Like some areas of the world consider bugger a swear word. There was a big kerfuffle when an advert, quite a number of years ago now obviously, in New Zealand they actually had bugger in an advert, and there was a big like controversial sort of movement about it. Is it a swear word, is it not? You know, everyone gets up in arms over silly little things. As far as I'm concerned, swearing is perfectly acceptable in conversation as long as the context is correct. See, I don't care how much you swear as long as you're not swearing at somebody. That's pretty much how I run my Discord. I have one rule in my Discord, and that is don't be a dick. And that sums up pretty much everything. If it sounds like you're being a dick, then don't do it. Pretty easy. And I don't want to have to add rules because I don't like rules. Well, when you're doing something as a job, rules are great because everybody's following the same set of instructions, but in the grand scheme of things, too many rules makes things far too confusing, and it's better if everybody just knows to follow at least one rule of just cooperating and not being a dick. So you're welcome to come across and join in my Discord. I'm happy for that to happen. I will generally answer people's building questions. As the channel gets more popular, I might find it harder to answer everybody, but I will endeavour to help out where I can, because I like to see people building. I like to see people having fun with it. I need a couple ramps too. So this is a trick that I have used numerous times before. I posted in one of the tutorial videos. Now, you cannot snap these onto anything here, right? So this is the opposite side. I can't snap anywhere but there. What I'm doing is I've taken a ceiling out from the bottom of the sloped wall. I put a wall up to add the ramp, snapped it to the ramp, and by removing it, it snaps it into place on the sloped wall. And it's one of those scaffold builds that, scaffold snaps. I really like it. It's a great way to snap things together that aren't normally possible to snap. Sometimes it doesn't work. I wouldn't be surprised if one of these falls off. So we'll find out soon enough. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so what's happened is something's not snapped quite in the right place. So there must be a couple of snaps here. Yeah. So I have to work out which snap. Okay, that's not the one I want. We want... No, actually, no, which way up is that? That is the right way up. It's just a matter of fiddling with it until you get the right one. Some of them are pretty simple. There we go, and that's the one we wanted. Now this is a slightly slower process to go through because you have to add the extra scaffold. Now my trouble is going to be here, because I have a lot of problems seeing, because I haven't got terribly good eyesight. No, I should be able to snap to that. Yeah, my eyesight's pretty terrible, so I have... Oh wait, I can see that one. Sometimes I have problems seeing where the snap actually is. Now it's gotten darker, I can see it a lot easier. So if it's dark for me, hopefully it's not too dark for you. Come on, give me that snap. Okay, we're gonna eliminate a snap out of here. That's the one we were... No, that shifted. Come on. No, that's not the one. Let's jumped again. Come on. We were going so well. Try a different angle. No. Oops, that was the one I wanted. Now it is jumping a little. Awesome. I can get it without... Oh, come on. Nope. I was trying to snap to the opposite there, but it's... Even with me not moving the mouse around, it's dancing around a little bit. Oh, this is a simple snap. Why are you doing this to me? This is where you play musical snap points, where something that should be nice and simple just will not go where you want it. You really want to go to that point, don't you? Unfortunately, there's things that it's snapping to aren't really want. Okay, I'm going to remove some snaps. I don't want to remove too many, I don't want anything falling out. No. Okay, so I can do this without moving my mouse. Oh, snapping to the opposite really isn't wanting to either. I'm going to pull you off as well. Right. Fine, make a big hole in the floor, see if I get. The trouble is it going to be the right height now? Well, I won't be keeping it there, so I'll see if I can get the snap that I want, and then I can replace everything in. Let's say that's probably going to work. Yeah, okay. I don't like having to pull away big sections, but sometimes it's the only way to actually get it to start snapping properly. Shouldn't need those. Put those further along my hotbar, just in case I need a couple. Bring these down. As I always say, make sure you keep your hotbar set up with what you're using the most of. I'll probably have one of these jump around still. No! Wow, that's amazing. Okay, so this side should be interesting, especially now it's gone really bright and I can't see again. That actually looked like it was in the right place. Yeah, that does look pretty accurate. Now the question is going to be, because that's sitting up a little bit high, will it hold? No, it will not. So pick that up. Oh, it's really bright. It looks like it's a little bit lower. Now there's a trick I can use if this doesn't work again. It looks pretty level. Okay, so what I'll do from here is I'm going to lower the snap. It's a lot of trouble just to add a railing on, isn't it? So I'm going to... No, that's not the right snap. Snap to the opposite. I think that's the right snap point. Yes, it is. So, try to place that ramp again. Now it does look lower, yep. Is it going to hold? Yes it is, okay. Let's get these snaps back in place. Oops, that was my... Oh, okay. Two wrongs there, that's for sure. Okay, that's that one sorted. Let's get the next one done. So yeah, some of these, because they don't snap naturally, you are going to have issues with. It's not always going to be an easy game to get what you want, but that's part of the struggle, isn't it? Okay, that one held. Is this one going to be too high? too low, I mean. Oh, fine, awesome, I'm not going to complain. But, if you compare that side to this side, doesn't that look good? It really ties it in quite nicely. So that's one side done. So as long as we don't have too many more problems, I'll cut some corners as I go by removing some of those snap points earlier. Just be the way we have to do it. Should actually start from the top on all of them. It does seem to be a bit quicker. Now, which way up? That's the right way up. Yep. Okay, now I am going to do that side, but I think I'll do this side first. So I do the annoying things in one go. And try that snap point. Where'd that go? Oh, down there. Railing. Excellent. Now, that is not right. It is. Beautiful. Okay. So this is where we do the annoying one. So I'm going to rip these out. So I'm not going to bother trying to do the placement like I was before. I'm going to go straight into the end result fix. I could spend my time moaning that it didn't work the other way, but it looks a bit high up, doesn't it? That's going to fall off and be willing to bet, so I'm not going to drop it. I'm going to lower that snap straight off. So yeah, when you're building, there's certain things you can look for when you can tell there's going to be a problem. Height's not matching up is the easiest way to spot a problem. As you can see on that last one, the height when I placed the railing was higher than the one before. Now this one is higher again. Did I not snap that properly? No, I definitely didn't. I must have missed the snap point. That's slack. Go and get some more railings off the quets too. Okay, that's definitely on the right snap point. Let's add the ramp and go and grab some more railings. So I really hope that somebody's finding all this useful and interesting. It's been quite a journey already. I've gone through quite a lot of this build now. I do like to get feedback on builds. I've been quite secretive about this one. I think there's 4 people that have seen a rough screenshot at hour 9 into the build. Nobody's seen anything more than that. I like to get feedback on builds as to what people are thinking. But this is probably since I've actually been playing online, probably the least most seen build I've done. I like to get it up to a certain stage before people actually see it. That's not right, it's going to have to go lower. I'm umming a lot, that's not very good. I would like to get some feedback at this point to see if there's anything that I might have missed or could have done better. There's a few people that I like getting feedback from. One of my buddies, 360, you'll have seen him on a few on the tour videos. or at least not seen, but seen mention of. On the first tour vid, he was in chat and he was handling admin codes. He was an admin on the server we were on, and he was making it daytime so we could record easier and things like that. So he was behind the scenes on that one, helping us out to make sure everything looked gorgeous. Like that is looking really good. And on the second tour video, he'd come in and offered some opinions on things, and he was actually, his body was technically in the build. He was down in the Gentleman's Club, as Mazion called it, and he was in a funny spot, and I really wish that his body hadn't sunken through the floor, because it would have looked really funny. But he was in the room where all the chains were hanging from the ceilings, and he was wearing the birthday suit skin. So if we had run across him, it would have looked really funny, but unfortunately there was a big update just before that happened, and for anybody that's played Ark long enough, you'll know that on big updates your body tends to move a little bit. And unfortunately his sank through the foundations, and I couldn't manage to drag him back up above the foundations before the video. I was gutted. It would have been great having just a random naked body in the middle of the back section of the Gentleman's Club. So yeah, he gives me a fair bit of feedback. I like his feedback over everybody's because he's honest. It's a very... See, one of the problems I have when I get feedback is I need good feedback. Like, I get people that say, I don't like it, I do like it. It's like, okay, what is it about it that you don't like? Why don't you like that particular thing? Is it something that the person doesn't like in general? 360 is very diplomatic on his answers, and he tends to give pretty good feedback. We've done a few, we haven't built together so much. We have, like, we did do a cabinet in the strip club, I mean the Gentleman's Club, that came out really awesome. We both worked on that, but we've never actually done a full-on build together. We have quite different building styles though, so that's probably why. I've helped him out on a couple of little bits and pieces here and there, mostly moral support. There was a, yeah, see what I mean? You can get some floating bits from time to time. He was working on a, what do you call it, a Dino pen, and it turned out really awesome. I was trying to give my 2 cents, and you know, sometimes when you're giving ideas on a build, wait, stay there, snap to the opposite. Sometimes when you're giving an opinion on something in a build, it's not what you're saying that actually helps. I've said it before, a bad idea can be a good idea. I'm not saying his ideas were bad or my ideas were bad at the time, more that if you're on the same page with somebody, like if they understand what you like, that's too high, isn't it? Yep. If they understand what you like and what sort of methods that you use, they can give you a bit more of an insight into what could work. And I think he jostled that entrance of the pen that I'm thinking of quite a few times. It ended up looking really cool. I hope he's got some screenshots of it somewhere. Now I'm going to snap that downwards. To the opposite? No, I shouldn't have snapped that to the opposite. Yes, I should have. What's going on? Demo. Okay, that snapped right. Does that lower it enough? Well, it might be touchy. Okay, no, that works. Yeah, he's probably the favourite person of mine to actually get feedback from, just because his answers are, and his suggestions are really onto it. And he's more than willing to push some of the boundaries when it comes to building. Some of the things I've seen him build have been very interesting. I'll always hassle him about his foundation work. He won't ever live that one down. One of the builds he did, I'm going to say this on camera, dude, so if you're watching this, bum it. he did this really cool build. It was a hexagonal build, and he did the outside line, and you know, it looked really good. And instead of going through and snapping the inside with, say, I think it would have been triangles to fill it properly, instead of doing that, he basically just got a whole ton of square foundations and just flood filled it, just random directions all over the show, and filled it in. And to a casual observer, it looked fine, but I don't see what most people see. I think when I walk into a build, the first thing I look at is how tidy are the snaps. Have they done a good job of snapping everything together? Now, there's certain ones obviously that aren't going to snap together quite as cleanly and as nicely as others, but as a builder I recognize those points, and if I see them, it's like, okay, I'm not going to worry about things like that, because you know, they're ones that everybody struggles on, including myself. But I went through and looked at it and it's like, okay, that's pretty rough. And he went to expand his base, and if you try and build straight walls over mismatched foundations, it gets really troublesome. So yeah, he ended up building above it, and it did look cool. It ended up being, I can't even describe the base. It was a little bit of a mismatch of designs, but it worked so well together. He had sort of a floating structure above. Of course he had to, because yeah, the foundations were so overlapped that it just didn't, you couldn't have built a straight wall on the place. But I gotta hand it to him, he's a really good builder. When he puts his mind to it, he can come up with some really awesome stuff. But like everybody, sometimes you just get a little bit lazy and just want to get through a project and sort of throw stuff together. It depends on how you're feeling at the time. I get frustrated with builds like that, where snaps aren't in the places that I think they should be, but I'm not the one that has to live with it. I've got a few occurrences where I've actually fixed things for people. On the Aberration server that I'm playing on, the admin actually wondered how long it was going to take me to fix one of the, I won't say mistakes, one of the build elements that he used. See, he had a couple of cliff platforms, and they were sitting above the community base, and he had a cliff platform above it to make it nice and secure. But I wonder if I can just snap straight down off there. I'm probably going to save myself some time if I can. Oh, why didn't I think of that before? Yep, that would have saved me some hassle. Never mind. Oh, and that is all of them completed. Awesome. So yeah, he had this ramp going up to the structure, and to actually access the ramp, he was removing the last couple of just plain old ramps, and to get up and down it, you had to pick up the ramp and put the ramp back down, kind of thing. Well, opposite way around, you get what I mean. And every time I went past it, I'd look at it and it was all raggedy, and he'd obviously done it in a hurry. But yeah, every time I went past it, I looked at it and I'd just shake my head to myself. It's like, this looks terrible. And oh, no, it is a slipped one. Oh, I can't snap it to those. That's why that's not going to work. I need to create a false snap point. Oh, that's really jumping around, isn't it? How close is that to the center? 3 on that side. It's an odd number, that's going to be a problem. Okay, if I did it there, there'd be 2 on that side and 3 on that side. So I'm going to have to actually drop that down a tad. It'd have to be off the lower one. Or a higher one. However, if I do off the higher one, I'm going to need some kind of snap point. Here's the question, can I snap? Need to test this. Always test. Whenever you're having an issue, do some testing. So, okay, it did snap in the right place in the end, cool. Can I snap to the top of this? No. It's jumping up to the roof. Alright. So, the other question is, I do snap it. Okay, so that does bust that. Outwards. Extra snap. That into place. Now obviously that's going to snap to the top if I can cycle it through. There's too many snap points around here, it's really getting confused. What to be on this one? It's funny, whenever you don't want it to snap to something, you can't get it to stop snapping. Fine, let's make another solid snap for you. Back one, come on, that's it. Now this is going to bust it if it doesn't work. Okay, so it has to be a solid snap and it won't snap necessarily off a wall. And it is getting very dark, let's set the time of day. Alrighty, so I don't want to remove too much of this area. See, the inside here is meant to be landing space for flyers, although I suppose between these sections that is quite a lot of space and I can land further up if need be. Yeah, that'll probably work, but it remains I will need to sink this down a little bit. See, I've got an idea for how to do this, and if I can get it to work, it's going to look great, but getting it to work is the big problem. Okay, so if I did do it, it'll have to be down on that lower snap. It needs to be 4 wide. That'd be 1, 2 on that side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Yeah, it definitely has to be on that lower one. Oh, I can actually. What's that snapping to? Oh, it's just snapping to the. That's wonderful. So here's the question. If I put these in place here, move that out. is that snapping to the outside? I feel like that's snapping wrong place, so I'm going to need to cycle snaps until I can. There we go. Okay, I have no idea where that snapped. Definitely not where I wanted it. I'm going to make a hole. That's definitely not the right place. So let's stare at the snap point that I need. And I'm going to cycle through all the snaps until I see something that's going the wrong direction. That is, I believe, the one I'm after. Unless, of course, it snapped downwards. Which I have a feeling... No? It's really hard to tell. Ooh, it did snap in. Okay. So... where did it snap? Ah, I snapped too far off that side. Damn you. Okay. So the idea is I'm going to remove should probably go up one more. I have a feeling, no, that's going to be too high. Get back in place. Oh, I better not stand on that just yet. No, it's open. Auto open settings. Don't auto open. Oh, come on! Oh, I forgot the top and bottom of these things don't have footing on them. Now, I'm not sure it's going to work because it's sitting away from the structure quite a bit. Down one. Yeah, so there's something going on with the angle that it sits at. So this is probably angled so you can only place it on the flat sides, sorry, the ramps, not so much the tries. That's really unfortunate. So I'll have to replace all this again because that's not going to work. Damn. I can remove these ceilings out of here now. So I wanted the entrance on this side because this is going to be the biggest gap between the towers. So I thought that would be a perfect place to... Oh, come on, place on the bottom one. Okay, place on the correct place in the bottom one. So this is like having a genie that doesn't like you. Okay. Getting bright enough I can't actually see the snaps again. Oh, that's why it won't place there. It's got the one above it. I've got to pull that out first. Place it above it. Oh man, I thought I really had something there too. I wonder if there's any way I can... I suppose I'd need to have a multi-thickness wall to be able to actually achieve it. Right, that's the wrong spot. As you can see, you can replace things back in. Why is that not snapping there though? I can't even see. You can replace these back in, but you have to get the right order. You have to work from the bottom upwards. If there's already a tile in the one above, it's just not going to place. Again, I can't really see. I'm trying to get into an angle where I can see if the hole has been filled with the placement. No, it was just a blind place. I really wish Arc had made this color deficient or colorblind friendly. No, I won't be able to place those because these are above. Now there is actually a supply drop colorblind mod. Unfortunately, it's so old now it actually doesn't work quite properly. It actually messes with the drop code. Oh come on, you both did that? Really? That was a bad placement on my behalf. I gotta admit, there are times where I wonder if I should do some of this off camera. Not that I've got a camera, but you get the idea, just on a recording. But it shows you how I do my troubleshooting. This particular spot is rather frustrating. So obviously I can't use this area. I might have to actually stick some entrances on the sides, on the ends. So my big glorious plan of having a nice... the idea was, because I could do it on the try, or if I could have done it on the try, I was going to have the general shape of the window areas that I've got on each of the towers and use that as the shape for getting in and out. I think that would have looked really cool, but it doesn't always work quite like that. So what I should be able to do, on the other hand, is place something here. Now, I don't like the idea of removing too much of these ramps. How many more is it? 1, 2, 3, there's another row. Oh, I can actually see them sticking through the top there. I'm not 100% sure what, how much of this is actually snapped properly, so I don't want to remove too many sides, just in case it falls out. Okay, so I want to set this to manually open, don't auto open. So that looks pretty cool still, not quite what I had in mind. But I won't need to do any fancy lowering of the section to do it. I think I'm going to have 4 entrances. I won't put them between the towers because I think that would be a bit silly. I think there's too much going on in that space if I do. Okay, that was just a one below it. Cool. Don't mind that. I hate that sound. I really do. It wasn't a loud one, so I knew it wasn't a whole roof coming down. Don't auto open. Okay, so that was nice and easy. That's the second one in place. I brought 5 and I busted one while I was testing. So this one. I want this level to be nice and accessible for flyers, so whatever direction you're coming in from, you can use it. Now, I could have limited it to just one side or two sides. If I could have placed it symmetrically, I would have done it like that, but that's definitely not placed in the right spot. But because of where I'm placing it, I want to keep it I have a thing about symmetry. I love symmetry in my builds, so it's going to happen. Place it. Open, don't auto open. One more. Hopefully this won't do anything. Oh no, I've got other ones that should be fine too. Yeah, I don't like removing too much structural support when I'm not 100% sure what's holding up what. Ideally, I'd love to have a piece of tech or something that showed snap points to show where the load is actually being placed, but to actually work out the code for that, I would say that'd be a nightmare. So, I now have the railing in place, access to this level from 4 flyers, so this level is pretty much complete. Obviously I haven't got that filled in, but I was waiting until I had some kind of access. And I'm not sure how this is going to look from the outside. That doesn't look too bad. I might have to paint them just to blend them in more, potentially. Yeah, I can live with that. If I paint them, they'll blend in a lot more. Try and go with a grey of some sort. So, I can now start on the upper level flyer platform. So this would be for the large flyers. It's going to be ridiculously large. So it's going to be able to hold more than I'll actually need to use. But I think it'd be best to keep this area as clear for large dinos as possible. So as you can see, I've already brought up the Spino and the Rexes. That was from my carrier quets video. So, sorry, my voice is going a little bit hoarse. There's a few things I could possibly do. I could take the wall straight up and their heads would stick through the wall when you ram into the side of it. That's probably how it's going to go. I've also wondered if I should angle it outwards, but the first thing I need to do is work out how much space I've got. Now I'm actually going to, I'm not going to say cheat, it's the wrong word. I'm going to make this easier on myself by alternating from try to square. So you'll always hear me talking about making sure you keep things snapped in a particular method. Well, I'm going to go against the grain on this one. So it's 3, 4. Okay, so that's the outside edge. Whoa. Thank you very much. I do not like that. So, to actually apply a wall, I will need it to be 3 out from there. So... I can add more to the foundation work. I'd rather not if I can help it. The foundations are pretty significant as it is. I need about 5 tiles, so what I could do is I can get away with 4. I think I'll do 5. I can actually overlap back into that if it's high enough. It needs to be 5 high to clear a Rex head and be able to hop off and not get stuck in the roof. 6 for a Spino, but that's only to stop the spine sticking through the floor. So if I can go out 3 there. Okay, didn't pick up the first one, fine. And I'm going to need some tries. Now, normally I would be using ramps to connect these, but I think I'm actually going to use the tech elevator for this particular part. So now I need to work out on this side if I can get the same amount of extension. So this should allow me to place a wall on the outside, and this should give me an error. Okay, so I can go the same on this side. So the question is, do I make it a solid structure or do I make it a floating structure? I'm thinking solid, just so it's harder to accidentally get stuck. If I do a space and then have it above, there's always the chance of actually I might actually be able to get away with doing it like that. I'm careful. There's a few hiccups that I want to try and avoid. Sometimes if your wall's low and your dino tries to climb it and there's something above it, it might get stuck. So it can climb up to a certain point and then won't be able to get past that point. And the other thing is, especially with certain dinos, when you hop off them, it will throw you in a particular direction. RGs are terrible if you park them against the railing, like facing the railing. When you jump off, you'll jump off forward and to the right naturally. If you're parked on the railing, I've jumped off bases like that, so you've jumped off the RG and literally just splat. So you've got to be careful, you've got to plan things out a little bit. Okay, so what I think I might do to tie this in properly, I'm going to need to... Now, am I going to just do a straight wall, a gap, and then a floating... I'd put supports from the squares upwards, and that would give me a connection to the ground. Okay, now that's a thought. Don't have any walls on me. I need some walls. Yes, I do have walls on me. How high can I go? So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, it's still allowing me to place. Now if you remember when I first started, I actually had to lower the bottom section of the base because it didn't line up properly. I was too high above the foundations for it to actually accept them as foundations. So I can go up higher. I don't know, I feel like the straight wall around the bottom looks kind of... like if I'm gonna make it floating, it's gonna look kind of silly just having a wall. I suppose I could stick a railing around on it. That would, yeah, that would work. That'd make it look nice and tidy. So my only actual supports are here. At the same time, I want to keep the support looking semi-interesting. So I might bring a floating, a self-supporting ramp structure out a little bit. I can only go out 3. So I can't do that technique. Okay, well, as far as it goes, we are at the end of the time for today's video. I will have a little bit of a think before I start on the next segment. I was going to do some back-to-back recordings, but I'm going to have to put a little bit of thought into how I'm going to do this just before I start, to try and get an idea as to how it's going to come about. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope you enjoyed the learning curve of trying to snap things into places that they really shouldn't go. If you do like the video, make sure you hit the thumbs up. Hit it anyway. Come on, you know you want to. Hit that subscribe button, which I'm sure you've already done. Join the Discord. Show us some screenshots of things that you've built, especially stuff that's been inspired by anything I've shown on my tutorials. I really love to see that sort of thing. Take care and enjoy your building.